Hey there, it's Joe, coming to you from Sao Paulo, Brazil today. Just shy of my 14-week update, but actually wanted to post a video in response to some questions I got through email through my blog. Just thought it would be kind of easier to post through video, and then in case other people had the same questions. So I'll just kind of give you my perspective, not like these aren't official perspectives. I'm not a dietitian or a nurse, so that's my caveat for you. Ashley, this one's for you. So the questions that she had written in, I'm going to kind of break them down one by one. So first was about medication and whether or not they need to be chewable or liquid form, like all of them, or if I can take like tiny liquid gels. So my doctor did have like some specific recommendations on that. I want to say it was like all chewable or you had to crush stuff like at least the first maybe month or so. But I actually did just start taking pills like after the first month, like regular size pills. So I haven't taken any big like crazy horse pills or anything, but like the normal size of a capsule, I take zinc and I take just normal capsules. I take biotin, normal biotin. I do just do a chewable vitamin. I also do the B12 is just like a sublingual little, they call it like a dot. It's just a little tiny little dissolvable thing. I do choose to do fiber in a gummy form, and I still do calcium in a chewable form. So I do a lot of chewables, but I equally take then other things in pill form. For me, the mix is nice because if I'm having to take a lot of pills in a given time, it's a lot of water at the same time. So I like kind of having the mix. I actually thought I wouldn't be able to take regular pills with water and chewables like at the same time, but it hasn't been a problem. My stomach tolerates it fine. So just like more broadly on what I do take, if that's helpful. So in the morning, I take a Prilosec every morning. Birth control, you won't really care about that, but you know, in my mind, they all come together. A biotin pill, and a zinc capsule, a Centrum chewables with iron. And I also take like a garlic, that's just like a holdover from other stuff I used to take. And then in the evening, I do my calcium chewables, fiber gummies, which I just started kind of the last month, really have been helping me stay regular. And then sometimes a triphala, which is like an Ayurvedic herb. You can Google it if you're interested. Triphala. It's like a digestive support thing. So in terms of like, can I take tiny liquid gels? Sure, I can take them with like normal pills. And that was starting at about a month out. Question about what about over-the-counter pain relievers? Do you crush them up or take the children's liquid kind? So for the first month, I did the liquid kind. After that, I just didn't bother. But about pain medication, I actually only took it like 3 days after surgery, and I took like whatever they had given me. It was a dissolvable. Now, I had surgery in Mexico, but they gave me, I think it was called Superdol. It was just a dissolvable pain medication. I never needed pain medication after like day 3. Now, that's not everyone's experience, but the only like extra medicine I had to buy in liquid form was, I think, an Imodium when I had diarrhea like earlier on, just in the first couple weeks. And then Benadryl. I got heat rash. If you watch my early videos, I got like really bad heat rash from, I think, being like, I don't know, having surgery and sitting in bed for a few days. So that was it. So like I wouldn't go crazy on stocking up like on that stuff. I just hit the pharmacy when I needed to. Okay, so next question. Was I fearful about a U.S. surgeon refusing me if a complication were to arise down the road? Full disclosure, I didn't even think about it till after I had surgery and was reading like the boards and was like, son of a bitch, I should have thought about that. But you know what, in the end, like, was I worried? No, and I'm still not really worried, but let me kind of caveat that. So number one, I had a primary doctor who's actually just my gynecologist, who was totally supportive of the surgery. She's been the one ordering like blood tests for me when I need them, like ordering that kind of stuff. The other is I haven't had and don't have a lot of health problems. So at 5'7", my weight was 250, and for me, a lot of this was like preventative. I'm 32. I don't have high blood pressure, though I'd had some high readings. I don't have diabetes. I haven't had my gallbladder out. I have good cholesterol. Like all that stuff's pretty good. I'm pretty healthy, and so I just wasn't like crazy overly concerned. Could it come up later? Yeah, absolutely. But whatever, I'll take it when it comes, to be honest, at this point. For me, at least where I'm sitting today, maybe I'll change my tune. It's worth it, like, to just feel better and to have, like, wound the clock back when it comes to my health, too. So that's a tricky one. I've heard a lot of people talk about it in theory. I haven't heard a lot of stories of it really, truly happening. That doesn't mean it hasn't. So anyway, just my perspective. So question, what size, I think it's pronounced bougie. What size bougie did Dr. Aceves use on me? Okay, so I'm gonna have to actually look at the blog. I didn't check beforehand. I believe it was a size 36, but Nina will actually have to confirm that for you. But here's the thing. If you go to my blog, it's Gastric Sleeve for Me. So Gastric Sleeve, the number 4, me.blogspot.com. If you go to the page at the top that says Surgeon's Questions, I actually did a little write-up on bougie size and some interesting research that I read, as well as the size that Dr. Aceves uses. Now, what was so interesting about it was, like, I had met with surgeons in New Jersey, where I live, and they tended to use a larger size. For those of you that don't know, this is basically the guide that they use to create the size of your pouch. So a larger bougie size, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, would mean a larger pouch. Smaller one, smaller pouch. There's a correlation between smaller pouch size and leak rate, which is like one of the primary dangerous complications for vertical sleeve gastrectomy. But smaller bougie size, the potential, at least in my mind, I don't know if there's studies for it, potential for more restriction, more weight loss, etc. So read the section on my blog, because at the time I wrote it, I was more informed. Now I've forgotten. So check that out. Okay, so then there was a question about portion size. So when you say that you drink a protein shake each day, especially in the first few weeks, how much do you think you drink in one sitting? And how does the quantity in those first few weeks compare to how much I can drink now? So I, from the start, could drink a lot in a sitting, actually. My nutritionist was like, you need to slow down. So my doctor's recommendations were pretty specific. Like, they didn't want you drinking, I want to say it's like more than 8 ounces of water in like an hour, which, you could take that and like put it in protein. So here's what I learned about the protein shakes. So number one, I still do about 2 a day, almost always. In the beginning, I probably did 3 at least. I've learned to make them with less water so it doesn't take me so long. So I figured out like how much protein powder I like with never more than 8 ounces of water. And that will take me anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes to get down. Just depends on like how much I'm doing other things and not paying attention, or I'm actually focused on like drinking the protein shake. But sometimes I'll even cut it to like just 6 ounces of water. Like in the end, the water is just like a delivery system for the protein powder. So, I know that I want like 1 scoop or 1.5 scoops if I've been a little bit light on my protein, and depending on what powder I'm using. But I won't mix it with more than 8 ounces of water, because otherwise I find it does just take me too long. The thing about water, like I was a huge water drinker beforehand, but it is, as someone who like really likes water, it is hard for me to get it all in. I rarely get like the full 64 ounces. I mean, I'd like to get more than 64, but on a good day, I probably get 3/4 of that. So the thing I find hard about it is I really do follow the rules of not drinking like 30 to 45 minutes before I eat, and same after. I don't know, it's just what I never like thought to muck with. And you think about just like how your day goes. I mapped it out once. This is how neurotic I am, by the way, and how detailed. my nutritionist was like on my ass about drinking water. And so I wrote down, like, she was also telling me get 5 meals, wait 30, 45 minutes before, 45 minutes after. And I basically like proved that you couldn't get in 64 ounces of water, but it was mostly just me being a brat about it. But you just really do have to, like, when you're not eating in those windows, like, be drinking water. I'm saying this to myself as well. So, anyway, I hope that helps. So that was about the protein shakes. How does the quantity in the first few weeks compare to how I can drink now? For me, it's about the same, but I've heard others, like, it expands over time. Everyone's so different, and you won't know how you are till after the surgery. She made a comment about portion size, but then kind of asked about the protein shakes. I'll just tell you about, like, food portion size. I, similar to other people, like, really can't eat more than 2 to 4 ounces, like, in a sitting. But here's what's interesting about that. Like, totally depends on what the food is and, like, how I'm feeling that day. Like, some days I could have, 2 bites of something and I'm like, whoa, I cannot eat anymore. And then sometimes, like, I can put a lot of actually the same food in. So, that's kind of tricky. At 3.5 months out, I'm definitely finding the foods that, like, I think I just have to stay away from. Like, everyone loves these, like, Parmesan chips, whatever. Like, you basically bake Parmesan cheese and it's like a cracker. And I found some on Amazon. And holy shit, they're just so good and, like, salty and everything I like, salty and cheesy. And I get protein from them, but, like, I like them a little too much and I can eat a little too much of them. And I find that, like, I get more enjoyment out of eating them than I feel like I should. I know some people, like, get bummed out about, they can't enjoy food anymore. I enjoy food, but, like, to be perfectly frank with you, I got to 250 pounds because, like, food was more important to me than it should have been. And so, I see a lot of posts about people kind of in the things that they, like, indulge in, and it's a rarity, and, it makes them really happy, and it's worth, like, the extra sugar that day or whatever. And I totally get that. For me personally, I just don't want food to be that thing that makes me happy. And so, like, if I'm getting my happiness from, like, a milkshake or a bag of, like, Parmesan chips, that for me is, like, a red flag that I just don't need it. So anyway, just FYI. The other thing I'll say is I've never had anything my stomach didn't tolerate. There were things that, like, sometimes didn't feel as good, but never thrown up. The only time I felt like I wanted to throw up was from eating too fast. That's been a problem for me, like, just pace. I still want to eat, like, at my old pace, but everything I've tried works, but I haven't tried really shitty food. Like, I haven't tried really bread, and I haven't tried fried food, and I haven't tried pasta, and I haven't tried rice, and I don't know, it's been 3.5 months and I'm just fine. So that's not to say I won't ever try them, but, like, I just don't really need them in my diet. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So she does mention that she tried the Alpine Punch Isopure, which, like, I used to kind of get me through the early days. And she said she had a hard time getting through it. Man, the Isopure, everyone's got an opinion. So if you're looking at that stuff, especially the ready to drink, go to the vitamin shop, buy them, like, a few singles from the refrigerator section, try them. If you don't like them, like, don't do it. For protein powder, I'll just tell you what I'm on at the moment. I've used Isopure Creamy Vanilla from the start. Yeah, it doesn't taste like the best thing, but, like, whatever. I'm just trying to get protein in. And it's 0 carb and it's a ton of protein. So I've compared, that to a bunch of other protein powders, and it's hard to beat. So I often mix that with something. So PB2, which is peanut butter powder. I might throw in some raspberry Torani sugar-free syrup. I finally ordered the Click Mocha decaf protein powder, which everyone, like, raves about. I think the fact there's a decaf is new. Holy moly, it's so good. It's really sweet for me. So I only do a half a scoop mixed with like a scoop of vanilla. It's really tasty. It's like a little mocha thing. And then I'm in love with Syntrax nectar. So I have big things of roadside lemonade and strawberry kiwi. But you know what? Other people think that stuff tastes like shit. So you just have to try it. Like get the samples and then buy what you want. Okay, so the only other kind of comments she had was water intake, which we sort of talked about. The no drinking during meals. I was a big drinker during meals, which I think is why, like, I've never even tried it. I just resisted the temptation from the beginning, and after a couple weeks, it went away. I do still sometimes, like, if I take a big bite of something, like, I want it to almost help get it down, but, like, that's just a warning that I took too big of a bite, so lesson learned. I think that's probably it. She talks about food mourning. Nothing I can tell you about that one other than it sucks. And find a good therapist if you need it. So anyway, I hope that helps. Best of luck to everyone. And I'll post a 14-week update soon. And not for nothing, but I looked really nice before this video. And then I took all my makeup off and did the video. I really got to remember to do this when I'm all fancy. So anyway, hope everyone's well. Bye.